Cool.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? This is KLA Cloud, the one who about to give it to you. I have a guest. He's the creator of Breakthrough Comics, and
Yes, sir.
he's going to tell you how it all started. How you been, man?
I'm good, man. I appreciate you having me on here. But
Yeah, no
yeah,
doubt.
you said you want to know how it all started.
Yeah,
Okay. Um, I guess so. I started Breakthrough Comics in 2020. Um, and I don't know how it all started was I've kind of always had an overactive imagination, and in the years, so like probably around like between 2019, 2018, 2019, that sort of time is when I started like really building out my, what would become the Breakthrough universe, which is just for a little more context, like Breakthrough Comics, every series under there, like it's a shared universe, so they're all like interconnected in some way. So around that time, I started kind of laying the foundations for that universe, and just started writing scripts, and that turned into Project Angel, which we released in like 2021, I want to say, and then we just kept going with Offspring, and then eventually I formed Resolve Comics as well. So
okay. I see. Like I was browsing through your IG, and I
hmm
seen some some
appreciate you.
illustrations like super dangerous and
Yeah. So just to just to
yeah.
give you just to give you a little more clarity, because I know it can be kind of confusing. I promote all of my series, like whether it's Breakthrough Comics or Resolve Comics series. I really use the Breakthrough Comics page for everything. But
Oh,
as
okay.
I just mentioned, right, I started Resolve Comics earlier this year because, like I said, Breakthrough Comics is a shared universe. So I wanted a place where I can publish stories that weren't necessarily connected to that universe. I didn't have to be connected to that universe. And that's where Resolve Comics came from. So every title under Resolve Comics is really in its own universe, unless I let you know it's a spinoff of something else, basically.
So let me get this straight. So you split the universes?
Not necessarily split the universes. It's like Breakthrough Comics is like Breakthrough Universe is one big shared universe with multiple
Yeah.
titles that all interconnect, and then Resolve Comics is like each story under Resolve Comics is its own universe. They all just stand alone in their own things, and it's more of like a
Okay.
place where I can publish stories that don't have to connect to each other.
All right. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna showcase something right now. So this
Yes,
is so you created this, right?
yes,
Like you
sir. That's
wrote.
Resolve. That is Super Dangerous. This is our next title out under Resolve Comics. The start of
Okay.
the Super
So
Dangerous.
so why don't you tell like the viewers what's it about? You know?
Absolutely. Basically, Super Dangerous starts out. It follows Josh Sanders. He's just a 19-year-old kid. He's just your average, kid. He goes to college. He does his thing. And one night he's out, smoking behind his parents' house when he gets hit with a big ball of energy, and it imbues him with, super strength, flight, endurance, and heightened senses. So, he goes around, he does his best, to kind of fix the planet, and do his part to make things better for everybody. But some of the things he does makes the U.S. government a little uneasy. So they kind of kidnap his family in a plot to control him and to get him under their control. And at that point, he has kind of a decision to make. Is he gonna fight the government, or what's he gonna do? So that's really how issue number one starts out, and that's
Mm,
it kind of breaks us into this super danger verse, as I like to
mm.
call it.
What made you what made you kind of like flesh this out like into a comic?
Um, Honestly, I don't even know what like this one just kind of hit me like a train out of nowhere. It was really like
Mm.
earlier this year. I started. I don't even know how I came up with it, but I do know that Super Dangerous has been probably the most fun I've had writing. Like writing a story to date. So this was definitely, I'll tell you, like this was definitely me kind of just letting it go and letting my pen fly, and really just having a lot of fun creating this world. Um, and I guess I can say it kind of stems from like a power fantasy sort of thing. You know, you have a
Right.
young black kid with all the power in the world, and you know nobody can really control him in any way. Um, and it's just, yeah, I mean, it's just a ton of fun, and I think it's something that a lot of people will enjoy.
But it's like is there super villains in this universe?
Oh yeah, 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 definitely super. I mean, issue number one is gonna probably bring. It's going not probably. Issue number one is gonna bring you his first nemesis, and I'm not gonna speak too much on issue number two, but you're gonna get a lot more of that. The farther you move into the series. So yeah.
Oh. So like who's like the artist that drew like did the illustrations?
My man Lord Katodwe is on the lines and colors for this issue. So I mean, he's like a master of his craft. He went crazy with this. There's a
Yeah.
two-page spread in here that I think is really gonna, you know, I think it's really gonna do some things. Yeah, it's crazy. I cannot wait for people to see what he was able to do with this. But yeah, Lord
Yeah.
Katodwe, he did lines and colors for issue one.
Yeah, it's real tight. Like I'm looking at this.
Super
Like
tight.
where would I purchase this? Like would I go to like to Amazon or something like that?
We'll definitely at some point do that. But initially, I'd say pretty much like you've been doing, right? Like keep an eye out on the Instagram, the Facebooks, the Twitters, and we're gonna drop the Kickstarter campaign for this in February, and we'll probably have like a pre-launch, like a sign-up sort of thing where people can get notified when the campaign drops. We'll probably get the pre-launch page up before the end of January. But yeah, Kickstarter. This is gonna drop on Kickstarter initially. After that, you're definitely gonna be able to get it on my website, which you can also access through any of my social medias. And then to your point, this is something I gotta do better with, but I will get this up on Amazon at some point, along with my other series, The Toys Who Walk, as well. So,
What's like the process of like just like writing like a comic book like because I've tried to do that. I ain't gonna lie, I've taken like classes and stuff,
uh
and as far as I got, I remember I wrote like this story about this dude. He came out of prison and he witnessed a murder, and these like these juveniles, they had like
yeah,
these high tech weapons, and they was shooting off the cops and all that stuff like that. I had to illustrate it,
Mhm.
like for you, how you develop the characters and just
Ooh,
like the setting and how long did it take you to do that?
how
Would
long
you
does it
say?
take? I'm not even going to give a specific length because I think it's a continuous process. If I'm being
Right.
completely honest, I'm always constantly thinking about these characters, especially in the beginning stages. Like right now, I'm preparing to release issue number one, but like during this time, it's still because we're not even that far into the series. We haven't even really started the series yet. I still have a lot
Okay.
of time to develop these sorts of things. So it's really like every day I'm always thinking about, I'm always in my head. Like I said, I always have an overactive imagination. So I'm always, playing these things out in my head. Um, and just, it's just kind of a gradual thing. Like you might have like the beginnings of, we're talking about as far as like characters and character arcs go. um I'm just always thinking about each of these characters, and I may be adding some characters, I may be subtracting or breaking down certain characters, and then just like folding those in parts of those characters and other characters. It's just it's a continuous process. As far as like the actual workflow goes of getting a comic book created from start to finish, um I would say I'll lay out the process right now if you want me to. I can take it step by step.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. I say number one is just a brainstorm. Like everybody has ideas. Like I'm not gonna say ideas cheap, but ideas are cheap. Everybody has ideas, and it's great to have. Ooh, crap. It's great to have ideas. But I would say definitely like if you have something you want to kind of focus on, then write it down. Record it some way, shape or form, and then just kind of like brain dump onto that same document, whether it's like a physical piece of paper or like your notes app or a Google Doc, whatever it is. But like open that up and just start brain dumping like every idea, every like connected, like every auxiliary part of that idea, like brain dump it into detail or like whatever you have, like any random scenes, like parts of scenes, anything, like brain dump it all onto that page. From there, uh, you kind of just organize it a little bit. I'll tell you, I'm gonna go on a bit of a tangent, but when I first started like writing comics, my dad basically put me onto this book that I point everybody to. It's called The Anatomy of Story by John Truby. I say I always recommend, like, you can get the book. I recommend there's like this WordPress website where somebody took that book and they put it in like bullet format. They put it in like bullet point format. They summarized every single part, every single chapter of that book into like bullet format. So it's like it's way easily, it's more digestible than just straight up reading like a book paragraph to paragraph. But you can, however you want to get that book, get it, understand it. It tells you a lot about like plots. um it breaks plots into like 27 different steps. And it can be applied to like film, it can be applied to books, novels, comics for me. um so I start with that, and the beginning part of those steps is like the world, the inciting event, and some other stuff. Like it's like setting up the world, setting up the needs, setting up the inciting event. Just like the first parts to any story. And that's usually where I cut my first issue. It's like a little bit after the inciting event. Um, and so back to that brain dump. From that brain dump and everything, I'll kind of start fashioning like a first issue, like taking, figuring out where I want that story to start, kind of getting it a little more detailed, molding out a first issue. And then from there, once I have a basic summary that summarizes that first issue in some detail, then I'll start scripting from that. Like I'll write my script based on that summary. I'll have it, the summary on one side and the script in the other side, and I'll just use that to write the script. After I have my script done, then I'll take that to an editor, have them look over it for any inconsistencies, plot holes, what have you, grammar as well, formatting. And then once I feel like, they'll give me back their notes or their corrections, and then I'll give that my once over. I'll look that over and give that my final edits. And once I feel like I have a script that's ready to go, then it's pretty much on to the artist, right?
Yeah.
And I think for somebody who wants to, if anybody's like watching this who wants to like get into making comic books, and you're wondering where to connect with artists, number one, I tell you stay off Fiverr and go straight to Facebook groups, as well as just like connecting with people on Instagram. Like,
Mm.
connect with more artists on Instagram and let your, eventually your algorithm is going to start bringing them to you. Um, but Facebook groups are a great one. And then from there, just reach out to people, let them know that you love their work, and like, stay in contact with people, network with them. And when it gets time to, as I start, as my scripts get closer and closer to being finished, that's when I'll reach out to them. And I'll be like, hey man, I got a script here. It's 30 pages. Are you available to start? And then give them an approximate start time where you'll be ready to start them on that script. If they say yes, you're good to go. And, you pay them their money, and you kind of let them do the work. And then as your panels come in, you want to find a quality letterer. Like, I think quality of lettering is definitely an important detail that some people may overlook, but it's very important. And you find a quality letterer, let them do their thing, and yeah, pretty much just get that.
How, how do you know, like, how's the if the artist is able to do what you wrote, like, in terms of like laying it out, and are you satisfied with the artist? Would you say, like, would
Yeah,
how would you know? No, I was just no, it's just some action. Like, how would you know, like, if the artist is capable of just kind of like doing what you want them to do?
I think that's where, yeah, your own judgment kind of comes into play. You got to just look at what they're doing. Like, a lot of artists who, like I said, are in these Facebook groups, they're gonna, if they are soliciting jobs, then they're usually going to provide a sample of their work, whether that be panels from a past job, or just some concept art that they're doing, their own characters, or fan art from another series. You can see the quality of their artwork in their drawings, right? So you want to look at their portfolio, you want to judge the quality of that, and you want to look closely, because some artists, like, will put up a few amazing photos, and like, that might just be, something you can kind of tell, like, where certain artists, like, put a lot more, like, effort into certain pieces, and then, like, you look at the rest of their stuff, and that's a little more consistent, and the quality is a little bit, like, lower. So you just want to be, go through their portfolio, like, with a keen eye. And honestly, if your stuff has a lot of action, right, then you want to look at artists who can do dynamic posing, which is
Right.
they can draw characters in motion and it looks good. Or, there are people who do, like, these super dynamic, like, drawings where it's like, I can't even explain it, but, like, if I showed you, you'd be like, wow, that's crazy. Because it looks like the whole piece is in motion. It looks like a camera is catching these people at high speeds, and they're like, their bodies are contorted, and they're doing these really cool poses. Um, so, like, an artist, like, seeing how well they do characters, not just like in standing poses, but seeing how well they can draw characters in motion and in dynamic posing, will also give you an idea of how good they can, like, the level of quality they can bring to the project.
Yeah. So how would you say, like, your like the beginning of the connection with you and what's his name, Lord?
Oh,
I forgot.
Kotodwe.
Yeah,
Oh
Katowe. Like,
man.
what attracted you to him? And
I think I found him on Instagram, and it was pretty much what I'm talking about. I
right.
saw immediately, like, first of all, he had manga panels. I mean, it was just his portfolio. Like, the quality was undeniable. He
Yeah.
was his I went on his profile, and I immediately was, like, hit in the face with professional level quality work.
Yeah.
Like, his manga panels were insane. His personal, yeah, just everything, man. Like, you saw the quality. Um, and so, I was collaborating with a friend of mine on a project that we wanted to bring to life under Breakthrough Comics. That one actually fell through, unfortunately, but I hired him for a piece of concept art for that project, and he just knocked it out of the fucking park. So, sorry, excuse my language, but
That's cool.
after that job, like, after he delivered that piece, I was like, okay, I need to work with him on something. And I think it was, yeah, honestly, it's funny how it works out. I was gonna put him on something else, but then I got hit with the idea for Super Dangerous, and I ended up knocking out that script. Like I said, I had a lot of fun with it, and it just kind of flowed out of me. And once I got that done, I was like, all right, I think I had asked Lord Gatodwe if he wanted to do it. He was like, yeah. So yeah, we just kind of linked up for that one.
You also did the story about the toys or something like that? Like
Yeah, the Toys Who Walk. That's my first. So that's actually the first series under Resolve Comics, right?
right,
This was, and honestly, this was the story that probably made me like form Resolve Comics because I did not want to connect this to the Breakthrough universe, which is more of like a capes and costumes sort of like superhero sort of universe.
right,
Um, so that's yeah, like I said, that's pretty much why I started Resolve Comics. So it could be like my Image Comics, where like each story stands on its own. But the Toys Who Walk is exactly what it sounds like. I like to say it's like Toy Story meets The Walking Dead. Basically, it's a group of sentient action figures who got to struggle for their own survival because they're out in like the open world where like many things can kill or crush them. Right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, like you have a lot of stuff going on. Like you have like
Yeah.
this one universe with the superheroes, then there's
Hmm.
another universe with something different. Like
Hmm.
how did that came? How did that? I don't think I ever see anybody do that. Like I'm not sure. I think probably Marvel probably did something like that like years
Yeah.
ago with like this was like in the 80s. They had like a something called New Universe or something like that, but it didn't last
Hmm.
long.
Hmm.
Yeah, like this
That's
was
interesting.
like yeah,
I'll
like it was
I'll be honest. Moving forward, at least for the next 5 years, I'm probably going to be focusing solely on these two series, The Toys Who Walk and Super Dangerous. I want to finish at least like the first arc of each of these series before I start putting anything else out and before I start focusing on anything else. So effectively, the Breakthrough universe is pretty much on a hiatus right now. But
right.
yeah, that's pretty much how I'm rocking with it. But yeah, man. I mean, I just have an overactive imagination. I have a ton of stories. Even now, I still have a bunch of other stories I want to come out with under Resolve Comics. I don't want to connect them to the Breakthrough universe, but even the Breakthrough universe, I have an entire like I've at least three different series ready to go under the Breakthrough universe. But I just it's a lot, so you got to focus on one thing at a time. For me, at
Well,
least.
did you always have like did you always wanted to had a plan of wanting to do like comics?
Um, honestly, nah, I don't think I always had that plan. I definitely always had an overactive imagination. I've been repeating myself. Sorry, but I definitely always had that like imagination. I don't think I always really knew what to do with it.
Right.
Um, but I think the idea of like writing a comic kind of finally hit me around like that 2016 2017
Yeah.
period of time. So yeah, like you know, I think the actual thought, like you can put these, you can really put these ideas into a story and do something. That didn't hit me till like the mid, 2010s, and then I think, like I told you, I didn't really start putting or taking action behind it until around 2019, 2020, and that's when we really just got started with it.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of funny because I come across like on Instagram, I see like a lot of black comic book writers and artists and stuff like
Hmm.
that, and it is phenomenal. Like the way how like they have like these different stories and stuff. Like
Yeah.
yeah, not too long ago, I was like interviewing a lady and she's a writer and she's a creator of Kente Comics and she
Mm.
started around like I would say maybe 2020. She was inspired through Wonder Woman and I think something else. And
Yeah.
yeah, she has like this artist. He's from Africa, and
Okay.
it's some fire stuff. Like
Yeah,
yeah, it's about this chick with like superpowers or something in space. She's like this protector and stuff, and she's like a version of Rogue and stuff like that. You know,
yeah.
she's called
I
like Firebird and stuff. So it's dope. Like the way I seen it, I was like, wow,
it's a lot of dope new stuff coming out of the indie comic space. I think for me personally, because I did also around this time, number one, I think a lot of us around that 2020 time, like I think the pandemic gave a lot of us like the time and the space to put our comic ideas together. Because I noticed like there's a ton of people around the same time as I did who started coming out
yeah,
with the series. Um, but I forgot what I was gonna say. Yeah, I think as far as I also started getting back into like the big two, like Marvel and DC around like that 2020 sort of time span. But something that I found is that um I'm not as drawn towards the big two as I am indie comics. Like I would if you put me in a comic book shop, I can tell you like I'm gonna go straight for like Image, IDW, or like Boom Studios or something like that.
right,
Um before I go to like I'll stop at the Marvel and the DC sections like dead last on my way out or on my way to the checkout counter. But I'm more like drawn towards new, fresh stories, and like in my opinion, you're really only going to get that coming out of from the indie comic space because I don't know,
yeah,
I just there's only so much you can do, and there's only so much reinventing of these same characters that I'm interested in reading about. Like,
right.
you know what I mean? There's only so many
I
ways.
understand. No,
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying because sometimes even myself, like I'll be like in and out of comics. Like I'll get like a Marvel and a DC comic, but
Hmm.
then it'd be like after a while I'll just stop. Like it's
Yeah.
always been like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's just like it's the same thing. And then you see like these different comics, and it's like, wow, this is interesting.
Yeah. I think
So
there's
yeah,
there's just so many like creative, crazy stories out there that are not under the big two. That it's like I just really think indie comics are where it's at right now.
yeah. Like who's your like growing up, like who was your favorite artist or writer that you admired?
Growing up is when I would probably have been more into the big two, right? So growing up, I'll tell you the series that really got me into the comics part because I'm like a huge anime and manga fan. Like that's really my bread and
Right,
butter. Um, but comics wise, growing up, it was Bendis. It was the Ultimate Spider-Man specifically, but the Ultimate Universe as a whole. Because my cousins were like all over X-Men, Ultimate X-Men. It was pretty much yeah. It was we were really just bouncing between Ultimate Spider-Man and Ultimate X-Men, and then like I told you when I got back into the big two around like the 2020 time, I went back and I read through like all the Ultimates, Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate X-Men, I think Ultimate Fantastic Four. Like I went through
mm,
all of those, and then I followed Ultimate Spider-Man into like was it Ultimatum or the one where Parker died, and then Miles Morales came on the scene, and then like Ultimate Comics Spider-Man, Ultimate Comics X-Men, and then like I think they just killed Ultimate Universe, and then everything went back over to 616, and then I followed
mm,
Miles Morales like up until like the 2016 whatever books were coming up or coming out around like 2016 or 2018 something like that,
mm.
and I kind of just fell off after that.
Yeah, I don't think I went that deep with the Ultimate Universe.
Yeah,
Yes, I still was like a drifter with the comics. Like I'll look at something and then I won't
yeah.
look at it more and stuff. I'm more like
It was
a animation type of guy. Like I'll look at animation a little bit more than comics at
not
times.
I feel you. It was just like as a kid, I think it was a couple of things. Like as a kid during that time period, like especially like Ultimate Spider-Man or Ultimate X-Men, it was like
Right,
you're like a young kid, not even quite like a preteen, and then you're looking at like these comics full like these cool teenagers, and they're doing the cool teenager superhero shit, and it's just like,
right,
ooh, like it was really cool. And it was also like in my, I don't care, like I know, I feel like I've heard a lot of people trash Bendis for whatever reason. I guess he's not popular for what he did at DC. I don't even know what he did at DC, but um I like I will always say that like Ultimate Spider-Man, like the Ultimate Comics were a great way for like newcomers to get into these characters. Like for
right.
people who didn't want to go back to the friggin' 60s and read, from like the 60s all the way through the decades, like I definitely maintain that like the Ultimate Universe is a great starting point for anybody who wants to like get into the Marvel Universe
Yeah.
for
That
like
was
beginners.
like the ultimate. That was like the 2000s. Like,
Started, yep, started like the
yeah,
2009, 2000, around the same time that I believe that first X-Men film came out, or yeah,
yeah,
yeah, and the
yeah.
first
I
Spider.
see. What you think about movies like these like the MCU and the DCU? Did you see any recent movies or anything like that?
Man, I was just talking about my dad. I was talking about this with my dad. I feel like the DC cinematic universe, from what one, there's been no cohesiveness to it. There's been
Yeah,
no like very little connectivity, or not little connectivity, but it's just like it just feels all over the place. It's not as connected as it should be. It's not tight. It's not like you could see where, at least in the beginning, you could see where each Marvel movie and like each Marvel project connected to the next or the previous.
right.
With DC, it felt like it's been all over the place. In my opinion, it's been a piss poor effort, and you've had a couple good, like I feel like Man of Steel set the bar, but it
Yeah,
also like set the bar too high, and
yeah,
it shouldn't have been too high for them to, but apparently it was, and I feel like most projects have fallen short of that since. Um, so nah, like Aquaman, I didn't even need to go see it. I just read the reviews. Everybody that I've
yeah. They
seen talk
bombed
about
it.
it's had negative
Yeah,
things to say. And I
yeah.
wasn't a fan of the first one. I know people like that, but
No,
I
me
like
too. I didn't really like. I, I, I I think it was so for me. Like there
yeah,
were moments where I just wasn't moved to it. Like,
yeah,
I mean, it had a good idea, but it
right.
just it's something was missing. Like it just it was missing with that though, man. Like some
I
people, I
know,
like there was people say it was good, but uh,
and they retconned a bunch of stuff from like Justice League, like because it came out
yeah,
after Justice League, right? I think it did. So it's like they retconned something about it. Like I think they retconned his origin or something, like a small piece. And that's kind of what I was talking about with the connectivity. Like it's like they're taking, they're retconning stuff in the middle of it, and then for me the CGI was just, it was piss poor. Like I couldn't get past that CGI. It looked
yeah,
CGI to me, and maybe I'm just being picky, but I just was not a fan of it. I couldn't get into it. The story was so for me. Um yeah, the first Aquaman, I don't have many good yeah. So and that seems to be the case with a lot of these
yeah,
DC flicks. The Marvel MCU, I think they did a great job. They started out strong and they kept it going for like a decade.
right.
Um, and then, I think honestly, I don't know what to think about. I don't know what to think about the MCU now. I think it's gonna be tough because, so from my point of view, like Captain America, Thor, Black Widow, Hawkeye, like these characters were not like Iron Man. These weren't like super, like everybody knew who they were, but nobody was like really checking for them before these movies came
Right.
out. In my opinion, at
Yeah.
least I wasn't. Like I said, you heard me. It was Spider-Man and X-Men for me, and those were coincidentally Marvel's two biggest properties. Those were the ones that they sold off, I think, before
Right.
Marvel Studios became a thing. When Marvel went bankrupt, they sold off those two properties. And so Disney, like I said, had to build the MCU with the remainders, right? With the Captain America, Thor, um, Iron Man. I think they did a great job of it. Um, but I don't know if they can do it again. I don't know if because I'm judging off my own personal interest, right?
Right.
Shang-Chi, I'm not checking for Shang-Chi. I'm
I
not
didn't see that one.
it was a good look, it was a good flick. The action was great. It was a good movie. The Eternals, I wasn't really checking for them. Miss Marvel, I like Miss Marvel. I enjoyed the Marvels. I like Captain Marvel.
Yeah, you
So
did.
yeah, I'll check for them.
They was
But
trash in that movie. Like the reviews, like
they were
they
trashing.
said like this the story was all over the place. Like I remember like when somebody saying like they was getting tired of seeing like women like it had like a female agenda type of stuff.
Yeah,
They
it's
was
pushing the
yeah they
woke
was
agenda. I'll tell you one
yeah
thing. Marvel's has been the most fun I've had at a Marvel movie since Thor Ragnarok. And I know some people might have some things to say about Thor Ragnarok. I
it
enjoyed
was
Thor
cool.
Ragnarok. I
It
loved
was
it.
cool.
That was cool for me. I liked it. And the
Mm,
Marvels I think has been the most fun I've had at a Marvel movie since then. And I enjoyed the
mm,
Marvels. Like it was cool. Um, but like this current roster that they have, like Shuri as Black Panther, I'm not even
mm,
interested. Like, look, more power to her. That's cool. I'm very not interested in a Shuri Black Panther. I want to see T'Challa. Like, I want T'Challa. I want to see T'Challa. Uh, who else we got? Falcon is Captain America. I was never a huge Falcon fan. I know I should be because like he's a black superhero, but if I'm being very honest with myself, I'd probably be. I like the series and the action look cool, so I'd be down to check it out. But I'm not
but
like
all he
super
just do is fly. That's it.
right. He has the new vibranium wingsuit with the shield, which is like
Yeah.
cool. I'm down to see that. I guess. Who else? It's like yeah, it's like these characters. I'm super not that interested. Like they're gonna have to I guess, do what they did with Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor, which is they're gonna have to make that shit exciting for me. Because right
Right.
now I'm not really that excited for these characters. I think the only real move that they can play is like if they want. Honestly, I think they need to tap into the Spider Man. They need to tap into Miles Morales. They need to tap into X Men. Like
Right.
they probably need to focus on Spider Man and figure out how to bring the X Men in, and then I want to see some Miles Morales. They showed us Aaron Davis in Homecoming, right? That was Childish Gambino. That's Aaron Davis. He was talking about, hey man, I got a nephew that lives around here. He was talking about Miles Morales. You know what I mean? Like I
Okay.
want to see
I
Miles. So
I catch that.
that's those are probably the characters that are gonna really bring me back into Marvel, but other than that, I do think they have their work cut out for them.
Yeah, I actually seen it not too long ago, like what last week I seen No Way Home with the
Yeah,
Spider-Man. I thought it was pretty good. Like I think
it
like
was good.
after that, all
Yeah,
like I remember I seen the Doctor Strange, madness of multiverse.
yep.
It was trash. I was like, oh man. So
Yeah,
and then I seen Love and Thunder. That was trash.
big
Like I
trash.
think after like No Way Home, that's when everything started flopping. Really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely noticed that. I definitely noticed,
Yeah.
So, like I said, I do think they have their work cut out for them. I will say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like in terms of your creation, like, how far do you, how far would, I mean, do you recruit like artists or writers or anything like that?
Um, as far as writers go, I don't really look for them. I do most of
Yeah.
my writing. And I'm not. one, I'm not big enough that I can really afford to have a team of writers under me. And then, I mean, I guess I could to a degree, but I'm also just not that interested in having other people write for me. I do plan, like, if the Super Danger verse grows to the point where I want it to grow, I would be interested in having maybe a couple writers or looking for certain writers to write certain characters. But for the most part, I really plan on doing my own writing for the most of this. And then uh we were saying artists. We asking about artists, like a team of artists.
Yeah, yeah, artists also.
Uh yeah, I mean, as far as artists go, it's like per project. Oh, sorry. One more thing on the writer tip. With the exception of my boy Dez,
Yeah.
we have a project coming out. I don't know. I'm not gonna say when it's gonna come out. It's probably gonna be 2025, but production will be starting in 2024. We're gonna do a. It's like a one shot. It's not really a one shot, but it's kind of one shot. I don't know how to describe it. But it's gonna be a graphic novel, the first part of a series, I guess. It's gonna be like a 76-page graphic novel, one shot thing, called Sidekick. My boy Dez sent me the script for it earlier this summer, and I was just completely blown away. Like, I'll say, I'll tell everyone who listens, like, I got to the last page of that script and my stomach dropped into my ass. I was
Mm.
like, fuck, like my shit, yeah, my heart dropped, my stomach dropped. That script was insane. So yeah, we're coming out with that. We're coming out with Sidekick, probably sometime in 24, starting production this year though. But outside of Dez, like, yeah, I'm not really checking for writers like that at this point. And then artists is pretty much like I told you, I'm always networking with artists. I'm always reaching out to
Yeah.
artists. And I'm always, like, especially as we get close to developing scripts, or, as we get close to illustrating scripts, that's when I really start reaching out and being like, hey man, like, I got this script, X amount of pages. Would you be interested? It's usually yes or no. And then from there, we'll just build out our team depending on the project.
Would you say like the 2023 was busy for you, like in terms of writing and like just putting stuff out there, or
Um, yeah, I'd say I've been consistently busy. I'd say I think since like, yeah, I think I've been at a rate of releasing it around two comics per year um for the last couple years. So I would say it's been consistent. Um yeah, I'd say it's been consistent. I'm always working on something. I'll put it like that. You know,
is
there's
it? Is, no, I
hmm?
was gonna ask you, is this your livelihood, or you got like a side, or this is something on
uh,
the side for you?
nah, this is more of a hobby. As a
Oh,
day
okay.
job, I'm an accountant, so I work in
Oh
account.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
that's
I'm a financial
cool.
statement auditor. Um,
Oh, that's
but I
cool.
do that for a living, and then that's really what allows me to make these comics. Because anyone who makes comics, or anybody who can't draw who makes comics, knows this ain't cheap. So
Yeah, yeah.
that's kind of how I do it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I say, good luck to you, man. Like, how do you see yourself, like, 10 years, or 5 years, doing this?
Honestly, just building up my fan base little by little, step by step, brick by brick, and
Yeah,
hopefully in the next 5-10 years I'll have that loyal, however big or small it is, I see myself with a loyal fan base who kind of is just kind of hounding me for the next issue of whatever project they want.
yeah, man. Well, I thank you for your time, man. I really
Thank
appreciate
you,
you,
man.
man.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Anything you want to say to the viewers?
Man, just follow me Instagram at Breakthrough Comics, at Resolve Comics Official. keep an eye out. We dropped Super Dangerous in February, Black History Month, for Black History Month. So yeah, man,
Right.
keep an eye out for Super Dangerous. It's gonna be like, I think, the most fun project I've put out to date. The most enjoyable, the
Yeah,
most fun.
I'm gonna definitely check that out because I was like looking at it. I'm like, he like what his name Ja Hunter
Yeah,
Hunter. He,
Josh
he almost
Sanders.
looked like Josh Sanders. I'm sorry. He almost looked like he reminded me a little bit about Static Shock with the dreads and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
almost a bit. But yeah, does he have like a super suit or anything like that, or just regular clothes?
Nah, he doesn't have a super suit at this time. He's just a kid who got some powers, so he decided to throw on, his regular clothes,
Mm.
throw on his jacket, and get to work.
It kind of reminded me a little bit of Heroes, where they had the superpowers and stuff like that. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you though, man. Thank you.
Thank, thank you for having me, man. I definitely
All
appreciate
right,
that.
no doubt. All right, folks, it's a wrap, man. Thank you all for coming. All right.
All right, be